Welcome, everybody, to this very special edition of the Don Lemon Show, Lemon Live. It's not live at 5, we're live at 10:30. Well, 10:45, close enough. We're so happy that you could be here. We have some big breaking news to talk about. You see some folks there on your screen, and we're happy to have both of them. Patrick Coolican is here. He is the editor-in-chief of Minnesota Reformer. I'm interested to hear everything Minnesota to see what they have to say. But first, we must speak with the Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania, Austin Davis. Thank you very much for joining us, both of you gentlemen. So, Lieutenant Governor, to you first. If you had asked me a couple days ago, and this is what I said, and I intended to put this out on social media, but the vice president beat me to it this morning. If you had asked me a couple days ago, I would say that Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, your governor, had it in the bag. But apparently that was not the case. And I believed, even as of maybe 2 days ago, that it would be Tim Walz, because young people like him, progressives like him. In a way, you get the Israel-Gaza situation off the table. He came up with the whole weird thing, which really resonated. He's a very effective communicator, and social media loves him as well, cable news as well. What do you think about this choice? Because I'm sure you would have thought that it would be Josh Shapiro, perhaps.
Well, you know, what we have said all along is the choice of a running mate is a deeply personal decision that's left up to Vice President Harris as she kind of molds her ticket and, quite frankly, the government that she wants to lead. And it's important for her to have the person that she feels that she can best work with. And she made that decision, right? I think the fact that Josh Shapiro has made it to be a top contender is a testament to the great work that he and our administration has been doing here in Pennsylvania to deliver good results for working class people here. So, you know, ultimately she made her decision. We look forward and stand ready to support the Harris-Walz ticket through November to make sure that not only do they win Pennsylvania, but we win this election.
But Lieutenant Governor, you're right. The Harris-Walz ticket will need Pennsylvania. Obviously, it is a very consequential state. You need Pennsylvania. You cannot win the election without Pennsylvania. Do you think that this hurts the vice president's chances, the Harris-Walz ticket's chances of winning Pennsylvania?
You know, what I think is the most important thing is not necessarily, you know, who the vice presidential candidate pick is. I think it's more important the vision that Vice President Harris lays out for the country, how she's going to help elevate working class families, how she's going to help bring down costs to create an economy that works for everyone, how she's going to make our community safer. And I think that's what people want to hear from presidential candidates, how they're going to make their lives better, how they're going to impact families like mine. I'm the proud son of a union bus driver and a hairdresser, how they're going to help folks get ahead and create an America where everyone has the opportunity to live the American dream. And so I think she has 90 days to lay out her vision. I think by the end of this campaign, people are going to see that the contrast is clear between a vision of moving America forward and a vision from Donald Trump, who wants to, quite frankly, take us backwards. And I think ultimately they're going to decide that Kamala Harris is the right person for the job.
Have you had a chance to speak with Governor Shapiro?
You know, I've spoken to the governor a number of times throughout this process. He and I often speak regularly. So I have had a number of opportunities to talk to him. But I will say this, the conversations that the governor and I have are private, and we're going to keep them private.
Well, I'm just wondering if you've had a chance to speak with him since this all happened. That's it.
Yeah, I've had a number of opportunities to speak with the governor.
Okay, without giving away personal, is he disappointed? Is he on board? Is he, you know, that's not giving away the substance.
Well, as I said, every conversation the governor and I have are private, and they're going to remain that way.
Okay, so let's just say overall, do you think Pennsylvania is on board with this choice and helping to move the Harris-Walz ticket forward?
Yeah, I think Pennsylvania Democrats are on board. I think, as I said, we know this election is going to be close, particularly here in Pennsylvania. The last presidential election was decided by less than a percentage point. And we believe this race is going to be equally as close. But we are committed to doing the work. We've opened a record number of field offices across the state to help elect Vice President Harris and now Governor Walz. And so we're ready to do the work. Folks are going to be on the ground. We're going to be on the doors, and we're ready to do everything we need to do to deliver a victory for the Harris campaign.
You know, I do have to say that, and I'm sure that you remember this during COVID, during George Floyd. You know, I spoke with Governor Shapiro. He was not the governor then; he was the Attorney General. I spoke with him numerous times. He is sharp as a tack on cable, just on television. He is very liked in Pennsylvania, very smart, charismatic. Both my female and male viewers thought he was handsome.
Hmm.
He is a good choice, would have been a good choice. I think both men would be a good choice for the vice president, but she went with the person I think she thought would deliver best for her. Do you disagree with that?
You know, look, I can't get into the mindset of the vice president as she went through her process and what she weighted one way or another. But ultimately, I think she made the decision that she thinks does two things. One, helps her win, and two is the person that she wants to govern with. So I think, you know, I respect her decision, and I think everyone ought to respect that decision and get on board to help move the campaign forward on to victory.
That's actually a very good answer, because I am watching the folks, you can't see it, but the folks who are in the chat, because the show is live and it is airing on YouTube and other streaming and social sites, and they are saying, hey, get on board. Both gentlemen are good. Someone said, I even wanted her to pick Kelly, but I am happy with Walz. I would have been happy with Shapiro. So I think she was, is it fair to say, kind of an embarrassment of riches?
What do you like, that she just had too many great options?
Where she had actually more than three great options. I think
Yeah.
she had a number of great options.
Yeah, look, I think it's a testament to the deep bench that the Democratic Party has of capable, charismatic leaders who are doing great work in their states and their respective communities. And so I think we are lucky to be living at a time where we have such a deep bench of Democrats who are going to contribute mightily, not just to the national conversation, but locally as well. And so I think it's an exciting time to be a Democrat.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know if you want to respond to this, but you know, I mean, you are in the political world. You have been out there. Sort of the criticism that progressives have lobbied toward the governor there, talking about college writings. He even responded to it. This is him on his college writings just a couple of days ago. Can we play that, please? Okay. Perhaps we don't have it. Okay. He was surprised. He said he was surprised that he was being asked about something that was more than 20 years ago when he was in college. My response was, I can't even remember what I said or did on Wednesday, but for something that happens when you write something in college, people change and they evolve. Do you think the criticism that's been levied at him, you think it's fair?
Yeah, look, I think that criticism comes with the spotlight in a lot of regards. And I think you're absolutely right. I'm 34, 35 years old. The governor is 50 years old. The
You're a
things that
baby.
we did, the things that we did at 20 are very different than the people we are now. And I think most people recognize that people grow and evolve and change. But I will say this: Josh Shapiro won a landslide election in Pennsylvania to be governor. He has a over 60% approval rating for his work as governor here in Pennsylvania. And so I think, quite frankly, all the criticism that has been levied against him, voters in Pennsylvania don't necessarily agree with that criticism. And he's won 3 elections here statewide.
Yeah, amen. So how are voters? Have you had a chance to speak to any voters regarding what happened? I'm sure they're happy for the ticket, but I'm sure they're disappointed that their governor was not the pick.
Yeah, look, as I've traveled around the state, people are happy that Josh Shapiro is going to continue to be their governor, right? People like the work that we've been doing. They're supportive of the work that we're doing. And I think folks are happy that we're going to continue doing that good work here in Pennsylvania.
Where do you plan to be today for the rally?
I'm going to be at the rally. I'm going to be in Philadelphia at the Vicarious Center supporting the Harris-Walz ticket.
Yeah. And what do you think the mood is going to be like? Do you think people are going to be positive about it? Or are they going to be, oh my gosh, why didn't you pick our guy?
No, I think people are going to be excited to rally around the Harris-Walz ticket. And I think there's going to be great energy in the room. I think there's going to be like 10,000 people that show up. And I think it's going to be an exciting rally. And I think people are going to come out of there ready to move forward and ready to elect Kamala Harris as our next president.
We're honored to have you on the program, Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis. Is there anything else that you want to say to our subscribers before? Because I know you have a very busy schedule. You got to get ready for the rally. I'm sure you got to get your talking points together. You got to talk to some people. Perhaps you're going to call the governor, or he's going to call you, and you guys are going to coordinate.
Well, the governor and I talk all the time. But I would just say it's critical that folks come together, rally around the Harris-Walz ticket, and we defeat Donald Trump in November.
Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis, thank you. I really appreciate it. As I said, I know you're busy, so we'll see you soon, and perhaps we'll have you back, after the rally this evening. That would be great if you could. But thank you for your time. Okay, I really appreciate it.
Take care.
Take care. So, Patrick Coolican, the reason I had you wait, one, the Lieutenant Governor only had a short amount of time, but also you are a reporter. And so I want you to respond to what you have just heard, because you're in Minnesota. I got to tell you, you can say, I guess I can say, a meteoric rise, at least when it comes to vice presidential picks, because a couple of days ago I said, it's got to be Tim Walz. It's got to be Tim Walz, even though it's a long shot. Look at what he's done with the messaging and weird and on and on. But it still is a bit surprising. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. And I think that the reality is that outside of the political junkie bubble that we're in, I think very few Americans have any idea who Tim Walz is. And so I would say this is the riskier pick. If you're just looking at the electoral calculation, Shapiro certainly gives you an advantage in Pennsylvania, and I think Pennsylvania is considered the hinge state. So I'm actually surprised. But when I go back to the years I've been covering Tim Walz pretty intensely since 2017, you always knew that he had this fascinating biography, and he's a great retail politician. So I think that I'm not surprised that he took advantage of this moment.
Yeah. Look, when I first saw him, of course I knew who Tim Walz was after, all of my years in cable news. And I knew that he was sharp, but I didn't know that he was that quick, especially when it comes to messaging. And I didn't know that he had that connection with young progressives, even though I don't think that he legislates from a particularly progressive stance. I think that he is somewhat centrist. Some of his things are progressive when you look at, what he wants to do, making sure that kids have school lunches in public schools, etc. But I don't think that he's particularly progressive. Do you?
Well, he came into office as definitely the second choice of the progressives in the party in 2018. He did not win. Here in Minnesota, we have this kind of strange endorsement process. He did not win at the convention, the Democratic convention. He wound up winning in a primary, and he was seen as the more centrist of the two Democrats. What did change, however, in 2023, after he was reelected in 22, and on his coattails, there were narrow Democratic majorities in both chambers of the legislature, and they did pass a long wish list of progressive policy items, not just the school lunch. I mean, they legalized marijuana. They did a carbon-free mandate by 2040. They raised taxes for housing and transportation. They enacted a large child tax credit. They expanded the working family tax credit. So it was a long list of a progressive wish list, and whether or not he was the guy driving that, and he wasn't necessarily. I mean, I would give credit to the legislature for those moves. He did sign those bills, and he certainly is enjoying some of the fruits of that work in 2023 right now.
Yeah. Listen, this is the interview, I believe, that sort of catapulted him to the top of the list, or at least for people to think about him as a potential vice presidential pick for the Vice President Kamala Harris. Right now, Twitter is over the moon about Walz. They're already making meme videos like this one. Watch this.
Back. 99 is a good time. Who the fuck are you? I'm a brat when I'm bumping that. No, I wanna hear my track. Are you bumping that? Till the windows crack, I'll be bumping that. No, I'll never go home, don't sleep, don't eat. Just do it on repeat, keep. When I'm in the club, yeah, I'm 365 party girl. Should we do a little key? Should we have a little line? Wanna go real wild when I'm meet me in the bathroom with you. 365 party girl. French manicure, whipper with a residue. I look hot when I'm. No, I really don't stop when I'm. Gonna jump when it drops when I'm down 999 is a good time.
We get it. We get it. We get it. So they love him. That's what I said. The young people. Is he that popular in his state with young people?
Well, I think his popularity has risen considerably in just the past 2-3 weeks. But I think you have to remember that he doesn't come from a traditional political background. He was a geography teacher for 20 years, and so he was a guy who was almost, in a way, if you think of a great charismatic teacher, he was on stage every
Was he
day.
a football coach as well?
He was also the defensive coordinator for Mankato West, and they won a state title, which is a huge deal here. So this is somebody who, and he was in the National Guard for 24 years, and he just loves people. He's from a small town in Nebraska. He comes here with his wife, and Minnesotans are very proud of Minnesota. And I've lived all over the country. I don't think I've quite experienced it like this. And he has the pride of a convert. He's somebody who moved here, and he just loves the place. His first year in office as a governor, 2019, he spent, I think, all 10 days at the state fair. Because the state fair is a huge deal here, and there's a rivalry with Iowa, but you're going to see there's the record attendance is 100,000, and he just loves that kind of retail politics and being around people and talking about how great Minnesota is, and so he has that skill as a retail politician that you have to be sort of born with, but also I think developed over decades, not just in politics but also in the classroom.
Yeah. Look, when I first saw him do what he did in regards to when he started appearing more and more on cable news, I was like, wow, you know what? This guy's actually pretty good on television, and shaping a message is really important, for the campaign. So there's one more thing that I want to play of him, and this is him on Twitter. This is the one from Political Players. If you can play this, it's him with his daughter at the state fair. Since Mr. Coolican has been talking about the state fair, we want to play this. Here it is.
At Governor Walz here, out at the state fair with my daughter.
Hope.
Every year we as a family do something old and something new. I get to pick something, a classic, the old mill ride, to do that. And then Hope gets to pick something new.
I think we're gonna go do the slingshot.
Which I don't know what it is, and they're keeping it from me. But then we're gonna go get some food, corn dog.
I'm vegetarian.
Turkey then. And
Turkey's meat.
Not in Minnesota, turkey special. And we will go do some of those things and report back.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Woo! Oh my God! Yes! Oh my God! Keep going!
Yes!
That was good. Good job, Dad.
Oh, thanks, Hope. All right, Minnesota, it's worth it. Woo. Wow, that is wild.
That was pretty cool, actually.
That is wild.
That'll be good.
It was okay. It was so worth it. Good call.
It was good.
Thanks for talking me into it.
You're welcome.
I mean, come on, you have to relate to that. By the way, I did that. Someone talked me into doing that once at a fair, and I screamed like a baby with colic. I could not handle it. I don't know how he was able to, just smile his way through it. But that's very relatable. Who wouldn't like that? I like the guy. Patrick.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's a Midwestern dad. And again, that experience in the classroom and going to their.
Someone said in the chat, Big Joe Grizzly said, check the Springsteen shirt.
Yeah. But he can wear it authentically, it's a thing with all these like white guy politicians that gotta like Springsteen, but like I actually think he probably listens. He likes Springsteen authentically, and you're going to see lots of this, and I think that was ultimately that ability to communicate with average Americans is ultimately and it's some kind of chemistry that the vice president had with him in the interviews, I presume, and he's a guy who can make a great first impression, and so that chemistry and then his ability to connect with people, again, I would say they're going to have to they're going to have to get the word out, because his name recognition nationally is probably, I'm sure it's less than 10%. So for all of these new fans he has on Twitter, I think it's just worth remembering that, even in Wisconsin, where he's the governor of the neighboring state, I'm sure, a lot of people have no idea who he is.
Yeah, but isn't that kind of, I think that's a positive. I think that he's new and people don't know who he is, because he gets to introduce himself. He gets to create a narrative around himself. He gets to create the person, the character, whatever it is, the image that people want to see, without really many influencing factors from the past.
Yeah, and so Republicans will try to define him and do so from here, and they'll say that he's over. They're going to show photos, I think, of and video of Minneapolis burning after the murder of George Floyd, and they're going to talk about school test scores, like all over the country. We've struggled here in the wake of the pandemic. So the Republicans will try to define him. I do think he's probably going to get, they're going to get just, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of earned media. As you say, he's good on cable, and he's good on TV. And so they're going to try to get this image of Tim Walz out that the internet left has fallen in love with the last 2 weeks. They're going to try to get it out to the whole country, and especially those blue wall states.
Do you think it's a positive for them, maybe a blessing in disguise, that they have this sort of condensed timeline? Excuse me, that it offers them, perhaps it is more powerful and less, maybe it's more concentrated more potent rather, than having sort of this long timeline for people to dig into your past and to make more mistakes and so on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's worked to her advantage already, in part because, as you say, that long campaign and the way that long campaign is often played out, and you know this well, is that some of the opposition research will bubble up in the right-wing media, and then it sort of floats over into the mainstream. But all of that process takes a long time, and so I think that they're probably playing catch up right now. Not to say there aren't Oppo books on Tim Walz, but they've got to figure out what's best, and then get those stories out there. And I think the compressed timeline, it is working to the Democrats' advantage right now.
Yeah. But honestly, though, listen, you can talk about, what happened after COVID, and about, what happened to education and what have you, but it happened to a lot of places. And there are places where I'm from, Louisiana, and states that I've lived in, that had not so good rates when it comes to education and literacy and all of that, before the pandemic. So you can always find something. But the fact that he is so well liked in a Midwestern state, which is the same thing that they're touting about JD Vance. So wouldn't there be some hypocrisy in there to say, oh, he's not qualified, he's a whatever, this or that or that? It's kind of similar to JD Vance as well.
Well, also, as the governor of Minnesota, he can point to all of these quality of life measures where Minnesota is often leading or in the top 5, like life expectancy. Certainly our schools, we have some really bad racial opportunity gaps, but we do have some of the best schools, depending on where you live. We have a very textured, diverse economy, an excellent healthcare system. The Mayo Clinic is here. We have a number of Fortune 500 headquarters are here. We have the best park system in the country in St. Paul and Minneapolis. So I think that Minnesota is a place that other places often aspire to, and he's going to be able to be he's the best salesman for Minnesota and for what he has achieved here, and what really a half century of progressive governance has achieved here.
Yeah. So talk to me about him and his family, and well, not even you spoke a little bit about that, but what do you think happens next? Obviously, they have the rally today, and then it's going to be a nationwide tour with them. What do you see as a seasoned reporter happening?
Well, he's very good at this, and I think he'll be fine. As you mentioned, his family. There's a couple interesting little nuggets here. His wife Gwen is a very strong, powerful figure in her own right. She's a lifelong educator. They struggled to have children, and they had to rely on IVF to do so. And he's got this great line about how he says that it's not by chance that our oldest daughter, is named Hope. And so I think that was another sort of kismet moment of this campaign, that IVF has become such a bad issue for Republicans, and here you have a guy whose family is due to IVF. They're just kind of like the all-American Midwestern family. And I think you saw that clip from when they're at the state fair. And he's got a teenage son. It'll be an interesting introduction to the American public. But the bottom line is he's just sort of a likable guy. Mm-hmm. And that's something that Republicans are going to have to try to puncture.
Yeah. What did I want to ask you? Oh, have you had a chance to read what is the headline? What is a Minnesota reformer? What are the papers saying there now? If you had a front cover and you could write a headline, what is that going to be when the paper comes out? Maybe perhaps a special edition.
Minnesota,
even though the paper is always living now, it's online. It's not like people wait extra, right?
Minnesota media is sort of famous or infamous for being thirsty for national attention and local angles on national stories. So it's going to be quite overwhelming here with Walz coverage. But my headline was plucked from obscurity, because that's the reality. I mean, I still think the American public doesn't know who Tim Walz is. They don't know much about him. And so the Walz and Harris have some work to do to introduce him. I think if they can get him in front of Americans through that retail campaigning environment, they're probably going to like what they see.
Let's see. What else do we have? So can we put up? This is the tweet from Harris. From the Vice President Harris of the official announcement. By the way, I think she changed her wallpaper, which is, the thing behind her, the big blue thing. And now it just says Harris Walz. I am proud to announce that we have asked Tim Walz to be my running mate as a governor, a coach, a teacher, a veteran. He has delivered for working families like his. It's great to have him on the team. Now it's, I'm reading from the actual small little thing. Now let's go to work. Join us. And then it's Harris Walz. Pretty simple and really supportive. I think that if you look at what has happened with Vice President Kamala Harris and her campaign, I mean, it's been pretty well run, almost to perfection. If you're looking at it in the vein of a political campaign, especially this late in the game, being able to have the whole Democratic Party coalesce around her, and then now this pick, I don't know. People would say, is it hers to lose? Is it theirs to lose at this point?
I still think it's probably more. It's a toss up because of the electoral college advantage that the Trump campaign has. But I think you're right that it does seem that the handoff from Biden to Harris really was flawless, and they've managed to take advantage of this quick timeline. They've avoided major mistakes, and so I think the Democrats were on their way to losing, and now I think it's much more of a toss-up.
Yeah, it's really shocking. I mean, what has it been? Has it been 2 weeks? Has it been about 2 weeks, right? Since she's been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was crazy because I said after the debate, I was like, I don't know. I think it's going to be a Trump presidency. And then after the shooting, I was like, oh, well, he won. And then all of a sudden, just like that, you never know. Fortunes change. What do you think?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I going back to to Biden stepping aside, I think potentially an important player here is former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who, at least was reported in the DC press, she was backing Walz, and whipping for him. I think organized labor were also behind this pick. So even though Walz, we feel like he's come out of nowhere, there were some strong institutional forces behind him. Remember, he did serve in Congress for 12 years. And he was not just some random backbencher. I mean, he was a guy who obviously Pelosi, she relied on as a Democrat who held that seat in a pretty conservative district that went for Trump twice.
I'm looking at some political analysis. My friend Bakari Sellers, who is very intimate with all this, says some people on X think it's a great pick. Some people think it's a bad pick. That's my analysis.
Yeah.
Do you think that's fair to say? I mean, I actually think it's a really smart pick. Look, I really do like Josh Shapiro. I also liked Mark Kelly as well. And as I said, and there was Pete Buttigieg, who was possibly there, and a number of other people. Andy Bashir. I think that she had, there was an embarrassment of riches, because she had a number of people that were, quite frankly, really good picks and could have been good vice presidents. But quite honestly, I got to be honest with you, I think that this Tim Walz pick is actually really, really, really smart.
Yeah, I mean, the old saw is that people don't vote based on the vice president.
I think this time makes a difference.
And we'll see whether that plays out or not. And I think not going with the governor of Pennsylvania when you need to win Pennsylvania, it certainly makes it seem like a risky pick. But at the same time, I think she is trying to convey a certain vibe, and that's what she achieves here with Walz. That this is a regular guy from working class background. He's a teacher and a coach and a member and in the National Guard, and he can talk to average people like a normal person, and he's not weird, to use his word. And so, and also, I'm guessing that she also just has good chemistry with him personally.
Let me ask you this, Patrick. Do you think that how much did let's just be honest, how much did Israel play into this? How much did Shapiro's stance, what he's written about Israel, what he has said about Israel? Do you think that was a factor? And does that potentially take it off the table now? Does it help
I don't.
in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I mean, nobody has convincingly explained to me how Walz's position or any of the candidates' position on Israel is different than Josh Shapiro. And I do fear that there was sort of an undercurrent of anti-Semitism in some of when people were saying that somehow Walz would be a better choice if you're a backer of Palestine. But that was certainly the perception that somehow Shapiro was going to be worse on the Israel-Gaza issue, and so the other thing to keep in mind here is that if you were to lean away from Israel, you would be disappointing and upsetting a huge an important segment of the Democratic base. So I'm not really sure. I certainly have no insight into her decision making, but that I don't necessarily think that Walz is considerably different than Shapiro on the issue. I don't think we even know.
You heard the lieutenant governor on a while ago saying that Pennsylvania was on board. Do you think people are going to be disappointed? You think it's going to turn some folks off? It has a potential of turning people in Pennsylvania off because they wanted it to be Josh Shapiro Maybe they just said, look, we love having him as our governor. Great. He's not going to be vice president. I don't know.
I think people, Democrats, as has been shown the last 2.5 weeks now, are so excited about having a fresh ticket and one that can prevent a second Trump presidency, that I'm sure there's some disappointment today. There's going to be for a few more days. But I think when all is said and done, folks will be on board. The question is, can Walz, can he really play well in Scranton and then in Western Pennsylvania?
Of course, I think he can.
And because that's really, they have to at least hold their margins and then run up the score in Philly and Pittsburgh. But you got to win Pennsylvania, so that's why I think that this Walz pick was a considered risk, but a risk.
Do you think that the question is, so you don't think it hurts him in Pennsylvania? You don't think it matters in Pennsylvania?
Well, no. I mean, having Shapiro on the ticket, I'm sure would have given them a significant boost, and but they must be confident in their standing there.
Does it help? Do you think it's going to be awkward with Pennsylvania today? And I expect to see, because the lieutenant governor said he's going to be there, I expect to see Josh Shapiro at this rally, and I'm sure you'll see unified and hands going up with the three of them, right? Holding hands, and we're supportive and we're on board and what have you. Will people buy it? Do you think everyone's going to play nice, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Governor Shapiro, he's a shrewd guy. He understands that if he were to somehow undermine the ticket, this would not redound well back on him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I expect that, sure, there's got to be disappointment, but he's going to give a stem winder today, I bet himself.
Oh, you think? Oh, this is his moment, even though he's not going to be on the ticket. This is his moment to shine, you think?
Yeah, I mean,
he's great at it. You're right.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't think of that. You're so smart, Patrick. I did
not
not
he
think
gets
of
to show what a great team player he is, and there's going to be a big, there's going to be a lot of lights and cameras on him, and so it's a huge opportunity for him, because who knows what's going to happen this fall, and then you've got 2028.
Yeah. Listen, I've worked in Philadelphia for a while, and was a local reporter and anchor there. And I think no one pageantry like that, especially when it comes to America, no one does it better than Philadelphia. You got the Liberty Bell. There's going to be a big flag, and you know what I mean? It's going to be, the original one of the colonies and one of the capital. It's going to be great, to watch that. I want to ask you something though. Because I've had people in the chat and our subscribers, people who watch, say, you know what? JD Vance is not even liked in Ohio. That's what they're saying. I don't know if that's true. Do you think that after this pick that JD Vance remains on the ticket with Donald Trump?
Well, I don't even know the mechanics of getting kicked off the ticket. But I think that they're smart enough to know that if they tried to do something like that, it would be a big mess. I mean, it'd be bad news, several bad news cycles. And so,
especially you're going to drop a Midwest guy because of another Midwest. Ooh, that's not going to play well, would it?
No.
Kyoko is in the chat saying to you, Patrick Coolican. Kyoko says, I'm sure JD Vance is not liked in Ohio. Others are saying JD Vance, yeah, I'm from Ohio and JD Vance is not liked here. But, go on. I'm sorry.
Well, he ran behind the Republican ticket in 2022. And so, it's not surprising that people would say that, because, it's become a pretty thoroughly Republican state, and he won a fairly narrow victory, all things considered. So, I mean, I think it's fair to say that. And then, he's not, he's a provocative guy who, and so I can certainly imagine that his numbers are not great in Ohio.
Yeah. I just put in the chat any questions for Patrick Coolican, our guest, because we talk to our viewers here, but most of them say, hey, we're not going back. Let's see. We like Shapiro, but they like Walz as well. Someone said, will Walz do good for crypto? Sheila Stewart says that. I don't think that's something that you can answer, right?
No. Yeah, I don't know. Tom Emmer, the majority whip of the U.S. House, the congressman from here, he's the crypto king of Congress. But I don't think that Walz is your man if you're into crypto.
Yeah. How are people feeling there about the economy and about the prospects in general in Minnesota? If you can, for before Walz, but about a Democratic ticket, about Kamala Harris.
I think that there has been a surge of excitement here in the last 2 weeks, like a lot of other places. I think there was concern that we could get a repeat of 2016 when Donald Trump lost here by 44,000 votes. This is the closest they'd come to turning Minnesota red in a long time, and that they would lose the Minnesota State House and lose a lot of the progress they've made in the legislature the last few years, and that's just completely turned around. And obviously, with this Walz pick, Minnesota is not a battleground at all, and I think they're probably hoping they're going to get some coattails and have a good election here. This is kind of this has been an important breeding ground for Democratic activists and operatives and elected officials. The chair of the party here is the chair of the National Democratic Committee chairs. The Walz is actually the chair of the Democratic Governors Association. We've just produced a lot of Democratic talent, and I think that so people here are extremely enthusiastic about this selection.
Well, I got to say to you, Patrick Coolican, you're a very good guest, and I hope that you will come back, because I love having guests that inform our viewers and the electorate, because we are really going to need that going into November, and that is the mission of this show. So thank you. Did you get to say everything that you wanted to say? Is there anything that I didn't get to that you think that our subscribers and viewers would like to know or hear?
No, just go to MinnesotaReformer.com and you can check out our coverage.
MinnesotaReformer.com. Check out the coverage while you're there. Make sure to pay particular attention to Patrick Coolican. Patrick, thank you so much for joining, and we'll have you back real soon. Okay, if there are any developments, let us know. And what was your headline? What was the headline for your story?
It's Walz.
No, it's Walz. I thought
It's
you
Walz.
said it was something about it.
Yeah, risen from obscurity.
Obscurity.
Yeah, rocketed from obscurity into the stratosphere.
Yeah. Thank you, Patrick. Be well.
It's a pleasure.
You got a busy day. Thank you very much. So thank you guys for tuning in today for this very special emergency edition of the Don Lemon Show. So it's going to be interesting to watch and see what happens over the next few days, over the next few weeks. What is it, like 92 days or something, or 90 days? Somewhere in there, 90 something, 91, 92 days until the election. And this is so great because we're doing exactly what we said we were going to do, and that is to inform the electorate. And look at where we were. You guys were, people were wanting to vote against Donald Trump. They loved Joe Biden. You guys loved Joe Biden. And then I had to give you the news that you didn't really want to hear about Joe Biden. You were mad at me for a while. But I told you I had to inform you that you needed to know that if anybody was just giving you all great news about what was happening with President Joe Biden and the Democrats, that they were deceiving you and not informing you and just not being honest with you. And so I'm always going to be honest with you. I'm always going to let you know whether you love me or hate me, or you want to subscribe or retract your subscription or whatever it is, or unsubscribe. I'm going to tell you the truth, and that's what you're going to get here. And so here we are. We're in a great place of knowing what is going on, getting the facts, having a voice, being able to say what you want to say in real time and not just yelling at the television. You can just yell right at me in the chat. And then now there's a chance that democracy will be saved on the other side, and it will be saved by people who are quintessentially American, who are the American dream, who are immigrants, and people who are from the so-called heartland. And you've got a Black woman who is qualified, who is a vice president of the United States. You have a governor of a Midwestern state who is qualified and loved and beloved by the people there. So what a great American election this is, okay? So thank you so much for joining. Make sure you, before you leave, hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you go. And I hate to keep saying this. Actually, I don't hate to keep saying it. Make sure you pre-order the book because it comes out in September and it talks about all of these issues, including what happened today is in there as well, about who you decide should be on what jobs and what tickets. And you are free. You guys are free to use my new name for J.D. Vance. J.D.E.I. Vance. I'll see you at 5 o'clock today.